Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We could have the reading of the mission and vision, please.
Richmond Community Schools guides students on pathways of learning to a future of limitless possibilities.
The vision statement of Richmond Community Schools is a community nurturing mind, body, and spirit to prepare students for lives of choice, purpose, and service.
Thank you both. Our first item is the oath of office. I believe that's Mr. Cross and Mrs. Brenton.
Ms. Brenton, I'd ask you to repeat after me, please. I solemnly swear or affirm
I solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the State of Indiana.
and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties
I will faithfully execute the duties
of my office
of my office
as a member of this governing body.
as a member of this governing body.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you.
Kristen, you know that one of the laws of the state of Indiana, you can't speed. Okay, I'm just saying.
Great.
Congratulations. I'd
Thank you.
like to warmly welcome you to the board.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And she brought her family with her.
I did.
Would you like to introduce them?
Sure. My husband, Mark, my daughter, Catherine, who's a sophomore at the high school, my son, Mark, who's going to be a senior at the high school, and my daughter, Madeline, who's a sophomore at Ball State.
Bravo.
Thank you for coming.
Welcome.
Thank you for sharing your wife and mom with us.
And condolences. You may not see her, you may not see much of her.
And if you want, you can leave.
The rest of the meeting's.
And at 10 o'clock on a late Wednesday night, she is truly here. Just so you know.
You don't believe it? Just drive by, Mark.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving along to public commentary. Ms. Claypool?
There is none.
No commentary. Moving on to consent items.
All right, tonight for consent, 4.01, approval of the minutes, 4.02, human resources, 4.03, accounts payable, 4.04, monthly financial report, and 4.05, transfers.
Make a motion that we approve the consent items with the addendum as listed.
Second.
Motion by member Walton. Second by, was that Aaron Stevens? Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The addendum talks about the authorization to present a contract. So there isn't, the contract has not been presented and has not been accepted?
I believe we'd have to
I've not
refer
seen
to
Mr. Mops, can you speak
Mr.
to that?
Mops.
Well,
Or Mr.
my assumption
Yes.
is that it would not be presented until it had been approved, at least in form and content by the board, so that is what is before you tonight. Discussions as to the contract terms, and then determination of whether you authorize that it will be presented as a proposal to the candidate.
Yeah. That's completely different on how we treat any other administrative position. Why?
It could be, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've never in the 16 years been asked to present a contract to an administrator,
Well, I think that typically,
other than the superintendent.
I think that typically takes place at the administrative level, and I think this is one where, due to the nature of the request, there was a desire to have board intentionality to look at this proposal before it's even presented.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion then to pull that and vote on it separately.
And that's entirely appropriate.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Jeff Schleifer, second by Keith Morey. So we are First, we're discussing the remaining 4 consent items.
Oh,
We'll vote on those.
Well, 4.01,
Okay.
4.02, and then we'll take that, we'll vote on,
So everything minus
yes.
the contract. Is that,
right.
all right. So are there any further questions or comments on the balance, or the first slate of consent items? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Now, on the authorization to present the proposed contract to candidate for Director of Student Support, we have a motion. Are there any questions or comments? No additional comments? Mr. Moore?
No?
Okay, seeing none,
Do we have a second?
yes.
Okay.
Keith?
Okay, I didn't hear this.
Seeing none, all those in
Excuse
favor?
me, pardon me.
sir.
To be exact, the motion on the floor is what?
Is for the approval of the consent item, authorization to present the proposed contract to candidate for Director of Student Support.
Thank you.
So seeing no additional questions or comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
I'd like to call the roll. I'll go around the room. Please signify aye. Opposed,
Yea or
yea, nay, or abstain. Member Morey.
Nay.
Member Stevens.
Aye.
Member Walton.
Yeah.
Member Schleifer.
He said yea or nay, not yeah.
I said yay. Aaron's the one that said aye.
Yay.
Mine's a nay, sorry.
That's fine. I'm a yay. Member
yay.
Stoltz.
Abstain. I haven't seen the contract.
All right, thank you. So we have 4, 2 nay, and 1 abstain. So motion passes.
Handled perfectly, John.
Thank you. Moving on to action items. Item 5.01, donations.
Good evening. Tonight, we would like to thank our community for $10,325 in donations. Most of those funds are for scholarship programs at RHS. And for sponsorship in those scholarship programs, we would like to thank First Bank Richmond, Kiwanis Golden K, Carroll Electric, Thor Construction Company, Stoltz Family Dentistry, Michael LaFresti, Barbara Hamitman, Mary Tilton. First Bank Richmond donated to another community service award as a part of the Honors and Awards program. The We Are Richmond Scholarship, Inc. Group, Christopher and Cindy Kinker, and Stephen and Deborah Santana. Those donated to various scholarship programs that students received this year for our seniors during Honors and Awards. We'd also like to thank First Bank Richmond for a donation to the RHS football team, Heartland Pet Food Manufacturing Indiana LCC, or donation to the RHS swimming and diving team, and then Green Clean, who donated to the RHS cheer team. So tonight, it's my recommendation that the board approves $10,325 in donations.
I move we approve those donations
Motion by Keith Morey,
with gratitude.
Second?
second by Aaron Stevens. Any questions or additional comments?
The We Are Richmond Scholarship, Inc., is that associated through the school system or the Alumni Association or anything? I mean,
I received no additional information on that group.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I do not know how that has been set up. I will reach out and get that information and get that to you in follow-up, so.
It would be interesting to see what the connection is on that.
Any additional comments? I would just offer the sincere thank you. And with that, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to 5.02, appointment of deputy treasurer authorized to open bids. Mrs. O'Brien. Mrs. Scout.
Okay, I will present this information, but officially, think the request has to come from the superintendent, and so I don't have any formal paperwork. But this is something that we do in our January meeting when we set up the annual appointments to bid committees and to the treasurer position, the deputy position, as well as some other areas of the corporation. And Janet Elstra retires this month. So we have to appoint a deputy treasurer. Melissa Spofford has already been approved by the board to move into that position, so this is a formality that we need to do. But it is one that, because it is mid-year, we will have to appoint her to that position as well as to the bid committee. I believe that we will have to do this again in July with the change to the superintendent date. So we will also have to do that for the bid committee at that time as well. But we are doing it for the deputy treasurer tonight. That will be effective July 1.
So at this time, I recommend that the Board of School Trustees appoint the following person, Melissa Swafford, for Richmond Community Schools, authorized to open and tabulate bids.
I move to approve the appointment.
Thank you. Motion by Jeff Slifer, second by Nicole Stoltz. Any questions or comments? I will just add, Melissa worked at Charles when my kids were in elementary school, and it's been wonderful to see her progress through the system. She is a wonderful individual. With that, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to 5.03, resolution approving preliminary plans for a lease and authorizing publication of notice of hearing on the lease. Mrs. O'Brien?
Do we,
Mr. Cross?
on the last one, do we need to do one for treasury and one for accepting bids, or did we?
Did them together.
We did them together,
Yeah.
okay, I just want to make sure.
Thank you, sir.
Karen and I are looking at each other, so we didn't rehearse this. As well you know, because you folks have been highly engaged, the proposed renovations to the high school must be financed through something other than direct borrowing by the school corporation, because the amounts involved would exceed your constitutional debt, direct debt limit that's in the Indiana Constitution. So the vehicle by which we do that is through a corporation that's known as a building corporation. What will happen, we will have a survey made of a portion of the high school that will be impacted by the project. That survey will then become the portion of the high school that is conveyed to the building corporation, in fact sold to the building corporation after it's appraised, and then the building corporation leases that portion back to the Richmond Community Schools for its operating and programming. Tonight we have a very preliminary rough draft lease. The terms of the lease will not actually be finalized until the amount of the bonds finally determined, the term of the maturity of the bonds, and hence the lease, and the interest rate, which is necessarily to be ascertained in order to know how much annual rent has to be generated to pay debt service on the bonds. So the resolution tonight gives you maximum numbers not to exceed. Those would be a 10-year maximum term of the lease, and annual payments after construction not to exceed $1,900,000. And again, those are materials and data that have been derived with the help of our financial consultant, Stiefel and Associates. So the resolution just authorizes the publication of a notice of public hearing on the proposed lease that would be held, I believe, July. So that is the summary of the resolution and the lease itself. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on it.
Happy to entertain a
I
motion.
do have one question. So you say a survey's done?
Can we get a motion first?
No, the survey has
sorry.
not been done.
Okay.
It has to be.
It's
will
only
have to
done
be
on
done.
part of the building?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll only be leasing out part of
Conceptually,
the-
we'll have 2 tracks that will be described in the survey. The first track will be
Questions before there's a motion.
the area impacted in the piano pool, and the second one will be, what's the physical plant or
Central plant.
central
I think
plant,
that's what they call
where
it.
the mechanicals are.
5 o'clock
And
somewhere.
that way, we'll have them separately appraised, and there are limitations on what you can pay. You have to pay at least the appraised value for each track, but we have to, because we're involved in projects that will be outside the described lease property, we have to make sure the money balances out, so we can pay more than the appraised value for these properties. And the building corp can pay more, but they can't pay less. And we have to make sure there's enough money in the building corporation to do what we say we're going to do in the lease premises, and enough of the other bond proceeds left to the school corporation to finance the remainder of the projects, as the priorities would be determined when you see the actual bids. So this is very preliminary, but it's a step in the bonding process we have to do.
After 60 years, why do you need to rehearse?
So why was Tiano, and why those sections? Why are those the ones that are being?
Well, they correlate fairly well to a significant portion of the value of the work to be done, and the
Okay.
cost of the work to be done.
Okay.
So there should be that correlation. And B, if we just throw the whole building in there, we assume the fair market value is going to go up, and we cannot pay rent on the improved property under the law until it's finished.
Okay.
But when we issue bonds, and whenever we issue bonds, and you buy a bond, you expect interest to start accruing from that point forward. That's called capitalized interest during the construction period. So we don't want to just make the description overly broad, because that increases the potential amount of capitalized interest that we'd have to pay during construction, and hence increases the debt service that we'd have to levy, taxes we'd have to collect to pay that. So it's a convoluted.
No, it's interesting. Thank you
Well,
for
and
enhancing
like I
my
say, you know,
understanding of all of
it's a
this.
it's a legislatively created fiction that says your annual lease payments are not debt, they're just your budgeted expenses.
Right.
Which
Okay.
I think looks like debt, smells like debt, I think it's debt. Under the
And
law,
it's
it is.
all because we're over our geo bonding capacity,
Over your geo bonding capacity.
or we're allowed to by statute. So.
Good to know. Thanks.
Thank you. Still entertain a motion.
I will motion that we approve 5.03 as explained by Mr. Cross.
Motion by Brad Walton,
Second.
second by Aaron Stevens. Any additional questions or comments? Just add another thank you for all the work that's been done to get us to this point. And seeing no others, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to 5.04, resolution reapproving the formation of the building corporation.
This is strictly a technical requirement of the Internal Revenues Code and the Internal Revenue Service because of the vehicle that we're using to finance this, and the issuer of the bonds will actually be the building corporation, not the school corporation. Back in 2013, when we were doing the Dennis project and other projects, if you recall, but Dennis was the primary project we leased, we formed a corporation for that purpose. It's called the Richmond Multi-School Building Corporation. That corporation still exists. It has the legal authority to be the vehicle that we need. So we just ask that you reapprove the formation of that corporation. It is in existence and has continued to exist in good standing. And the directors, who happen to be Kyle Clark, a local banker, John Dills, a local insurance agent, and Shelley Miller, who's now retired, but was a former banker with West End, perhaps Three Rivers. I don't know when she retired.
Thank you.
A motion we approve 5.04 as explained by Mr. Cross.
I'll second it.
By Brad Walton, second by Nicole Stoltz. Any additional questions or comments? I just had one. Is the three people that administer, are they volunteer then?
They're volunteer, they're unpaid. I let them add it to their resume,
Okay.
but other than that, there's no direct benefit.
They continue to want to serve and whatever. Okay. Great. Any other questions or comments?
Thanks again on your work on this.
Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to 5.05, request to advertise for McGuire Hall renovation bids.
Okay, so it is the time that we are requesting permission to advertise for the McGuire Hall renovation. The bid packet was provided to you through the update on board docs. This packet will be available through the Maze Design office once vendors are interested, but tonight we are asking for permission from Richmond Community Schools Board of School Trustees to publish the required notice to bidders for the McGuire Hall renovation bid. If approved, this notice will be published on Friday, June 18th, 2021, and also on Friday, June 25th, 2021. The bid opening will be held on Friday, July 16th, 2021 at 2 p.m. It will be located in the Richmond Administration Building, and a recommendation will possibly be made at the July 28th, 2021 board meeting. One note on this is a partnership with the City of Richmond, as the City Redevelopment Commission has provided funds to make this project possible. So we do want to thank them for this. We have been providing them with updates along the way. So once we get to the advertised timing, we'll get them a notice of this as well. Tonight, it's my recommendation that the Board of School Trustees approves the request to advertise the notice to bidders for the McGuire Hall renovation project as it has been presented.
I move that we accept this request.
Motion by Nicole Stoltz, second by Brad Walton. Any questions or comments?
There wouldn't be a conflict with me since I'm on the redevelopment commission, right?
No, I don't believe so, because you're not a voting member of that commission. It's a good question. If you were, and you should be, but you're not, I think that would be appropriate to abstain.
I know there's been a ton of work that's gone into that project as well. And thank everyone for those efforts. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Item 5.06, Simon Youth Foundation Memo of Understanding.
Thank you. Tonight I present to you the Simon Youth Academy MOU. This is an agreement with Richmond High School that will support the alternative program. At this time, I ask that the board approve the Simon Youth Academy Memorandum of Understanding.
I'll motion we approve 5.06.
Motion by Brad Walton, second by Aaron Stevens. Thank you, Mrs. O'Brien. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Item 5.07, Head Start Agreement.
Yes, tonight I bring to you on behalf of Mrs. Hobbs, Director of Exceptional Ed. This is our yearly agreement with Head Start. We recommend providing special education services for all Head Start locations within Richmond Community School boundaries. This is a provision within Article 7 and supports our child find obligations. With this approval, we will provide services as the legal education agency for the Head Start schools within, again, the Richmond Community Schools District. At this time, I ask the board to approve the agreement for special education services with Head Start as presented.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I move to approve the agreement for special education services with Head Start as presented.
Motion by Aaron Stevens,
I'll second.
second by Nicole Stoltz. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Item 5.08, School Improvement Plans. Mrs. O'Brien.
Yes, tonight I bring to you the 2021-22 school improvement plans for Charles, Crestdale, Fairview, Richmond High School, Star, Vale, and Westview as presented. Just a note that school improvement plans are due to the state in the month of October. We typically complete them by the end of the school year with approval to the board over the summer. Many of the schools have professional development opportunities that are embedded within that plan that take place over the summer, and they also like to start the school year working from those plans. We are not bringing to you tonight the plans for Test and Dennis. We are cognizant of the fact that they have gone through a reconfiguration and would like to have conversations with their reconfigured staffs when school resumes. So they're going to be doing that work, and we'll be bringing those two plans back to the board in September to meet that deadline for October. But I just wanted to note that. So at this time, I ask the board approve the school improvement plans as presented.
Thank you.
I'll motion we approve 5.08 as explained by Ms. O'Brien.
Motion by Brad Walton,
I'll second.
second by Keith Morey. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to policy review and update. Policy 6.01, or item 6.01, policy 3122.01, drug-free workplace, second reading and approval.
Mr. President, I move to approve policy 3122.01 as presented on second reading.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
My name's Nicole.
I know. I got it. Motion by Aaron Stevens, second by Nicole Stoltz.
Easy to do.
Any questions or
Very easy to do.
comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. We have two first reading policies. If we had any interest in bundling?
I would motion that we approve 6.02, policy 3120.06, selecting student, teacher, administrative interns, first reading, and 6.03, policy 5320.01, purchasing using online reverse auctions, first reading.
Thank you. A mouthful.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second
His
by
name is Keith.
Keith Morey. Any questions in order? Any questions or comments?
Just to remind the public that these are existing policies. Some have been tweaked, but they're existing policies, so we're just not rubber stamping something that was put before us. These are policies that we have had in existence, for some time.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to our work session. We are planning to speak about our strategic planning process. I will simply introduce the consultant we've been working with. Dr. Patrick Rice is in the audience. I don't know if you want to have him come forward or to the table or.
Oh, for the executives, not now. Okay.
Good evening. Good evening.
So for those that may not, we have been working with Dr. Rice for at least a year, I believe now, on strategic planning. He provided assistance with the superintendent search. And am I missing anything?
He also did all the surveys that lots
Yeah.
of folks participated in.
Yeah, that whole process with, so this is kind of the man behind the curtain, if you will.
Who has also
Wonderful.
who has also made numerous trips to Richmond to be a part of special meetings.
So tonight, we simply wanted to kind of bring the public up to speed, if you will. We're kind of looking at the second phase of that is in working on strategic plan. And so we invited Dr. Rice to join us tonight.
Hey, well, the honor's all mine. Good evening, everyone. As stated, my name is Dr. Patrick Rice. I'm a consultant with Student First Consulting Group. I'd like to take a moment and thank the Richmond Community School Board and staff for all the hard work and dedication to the community of Richmond. Prior to my work with Student First Consulting Group, I worked almost a decade with the Illinois Association of School Boards, teaching school boards and superintendents about good governance practices, not only in the state of Illinois, but nationally as well. Have experience as a teacher, administrator, both principal and superintendent, and university professor at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Fighting a lot now, I don't know if that's a bad worst bit in Indiana.
It's bad.
The reason I wanted to mention a little bit about my background is because I believe I know what good governance look like, and I know a little something about what effective districts look like. Since I have been working with Richmond School District, I can attest that the board is committed to making sure that the district is second to none. So I wanted to share some of the work to date, especially around the strategic planning process. But first, anyone could tell me the role of the school board in a word or a phrase. Anybody want to take a shot?
It isn't that little puppet that just goes like this.
Policy,
Governance.
governance, you're absolutely right. It's to govern. And govern or to oversee the affairs of the school district. So in essence, the board sit in trust as the community representatives to oversee its schools. The board is primarily concerned about two things. Organizational effectiveness, that's how organized and how effective the organization is running and operating. And two, ensuring student achievement. One more trivia question. I was a U.S. history teacher at one point. So the American tradition of free schools governed by elected or appointed lay citizens had its start in New England, where the Puritans of the Massachusetts Bay Colony took the first steps toward establishing such a school system in 1600 or 1647.
1647.
1647 is the correct answer. So since then, researchers have been trying to determine what does an effective school board look like. The Iowa Lighthouse study is a great study. It's a little bit dated. Was the first of its kind. They actually partnered with the National School Boards Association called the Lighthouse Study to try to determine what are some of the characteristics of good districts and good school boards. And so what these associations discovered is that effective school boards, among other things, take the lead in ensuring that the district first had goals in place. Second, have a collaborative relationship with the community and staff. 3, they led as a united team with the superintendent. And 4, they participate in ongoing professional development. So as the saying goes, the proof is in the pudding, right? So the work the school board has been doing to date aligns with what the research says effective school boards ought to do. So allow me to briefly discuss and share some of the work the board has been actively engaged in last year. Beginning, I believe, June 18, 2020, the board and I met to begin discussions around how best to formulate a strategic plan for the school district. So first, what is a strategic plan? So, you ever been to Chicago?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you do not want to drive if you're downtown, so take my advice. So if you're downtown, you want to catch a cab or a taxi, so you flag that taxi down and you hop in the car and the taxi driver going to ask you what?
Where do you want to go?
Where do you want to go? Exactly. And so the job of when you hire a superintendent is asking the board, where does the board want to go? Where, what's the direction for the district? And so this entails strategic planning, which incorporate what is the mission, what is the vision, and what are some district goals that's going to help us reach that mission and vision. So imagine for a second that Richmond Community School District had $1 billion. I know you all have $1 billion. You're the financial officer.
Jeff does.
To build a 21st century innovative school. All right? And if we are going to get this right and to build this innovative school, we need to determine what stakeholders need to be at the table to help plan for this innovative school. So since it's my question, I'm going to throw out the first response. I would say, how about teachers? Everybody agree? Mm-hmm. All right. So we have teachers at the table. Do we have enough representation to build this 21st century state-of-the-art school?
No.
Somebody's missing?
No.
Who's missing? I got teachers.
Students.
Students? Okay. We need some student input. Okay, I can take that. So now, okay, we have teachers, we have students. Keith, are we all right?
No.
Who else we need?
Community stakeholders.
Community stakeholders, right? Business leaders, senior citizens, right? And so we need all these people. So when we started to plan about what's going to be our goals, the board shared these sentiments and wanted to make sure that we had equity of inclusion. So since November last year, the board authorized me to conduct focus groups of teachers, parents, and other citizens and business leaders. During the same time period, we launched online survey. We had over almost 1,000 survey responses of the same stakeholders, staff, business owners, senior citizens. And the survey and the focus group, we asked similar questions, which was very important because we wanted to see what are some of the major themes that's emerging from all groups. So, on the other hand, some of the things that emerged, for instance, that it was very obvious that the stakeholders were well pleased with district staff members. That was something that really came across all of the different stakeholder groups. Second, there was a great appreciation for district vocational programs. On the other hand, stakeholders were very interested in things in addition, addressing things like student poverty. So that's an issue that stakeholders want to try to help determine student poverty needs. Now that the board has a complete listing of all of these expectations that the stakeholders would like for their schools, the school board is going to meet with the superintendent and I to begin to prioritize, drill down on those expectations, and to further develop a strategic plan. Some of you all may have heard of the acronym SMART goals. Are they strategic? Are they measurable? Are they attainable? Are they time bound? Are they attainable? Are they realistic? So these goals, making sure that they're SMART goals. The goals would then be, once they're in existence, would be regularly monitored and evaluated by the board to ensure successful implementation and completion. As noted, good boards participate in ongoing professional development. Currently, we're going to work with the board and develop a yearly professional development planning cycle for the board to consider. The big plan of the district is to take also steps to become a professional learning organization. Essentially, all that is basically you have, it refers to a set of beliefs that the district adheres to concerning how the members of the organizations and the stakeholders of the organizations collaborate with each other to carry out the mission and the goals of the district. So this requires the district being very intentional and ensuring that stakeholders work collaboratively. Why is this important? I want to throw out one quick research finding, and I'm putting on my professor hat. Chubb and Moe, 1990 is a little bit dated, but it's still what they stated is still true today. They stated that all things being equal, I want you to catch this, all things being equal, a student in an effectively organized school district achieves at least a half year more than a student in an ineffectively organized school district. That's powerful. So we're not talking about curriculum, we're not talking about instruction, we're just saying if we just simply make sure that we have systems in place and that the district has effective system in place in which to operate, a student in such a highly effective system will achieve at least a half a year more, simply by ensuring that the district is organized. So kudos to the school board for engaging in its work and helping to take steps to make sure that all of the stakeholders work collaboratively around the goals and the mission of the district. Soon, we're also going to be discussing how to market the strategic plan. I see some board goals are still posted. So we will also be discussing how we will engage in marketing so that everyone is aware. So once again, thank you all for your hard work, and I'm free to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Dr. Rice.
We just thank you for all that you've done with us over the past year, leading us through step by step, very patiently. Yeah, it's as a board, we've wanted to be very intentional in putting a plan together, putting systems in place in order to have an organized approach to education, because that's what's the most effective. So, yeah, we've been able to use some of this COVID time where we couldn't meet to lay some of the groundwork. The focus groups we were able to do on Zoom. Several of the board members were able to be in on that with Dr. Rice. The surveys, didn't have to meet in person. So I feel like we've been able to use this shutdown time even effectively. And so I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, and I appreciate it.
Leading us through all this.
I'll follow up on those thoughts, and very same that I know the 7 of us, at times 6 of us, cannot be the easiest group to work with. A lot of varying opinions and beliefs and outlooks on things, and just you're to be commended for your patience and willingness to work with us, and it's greatly appreciated. And how far is it? About 5-hour drive to get here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've been over here multiple times, and we really do appreciate it.
No problem. I'm convinced in my former life I was a truck driver. Working for the school board
Good thing.
association. Yeah, that's
I didn't stop you on the
drive,
interstate,
so.
did I?
Oh, no, I hope
Okay.
not. Well, hey, thank you all.
Dr. Rice, one other thing too, just coattailing on that, and as Brad was saying, you've had varying viewpoints on different issues in the time that you have worked with us. And I want to thank you for your patience and willingness because you've made some presentations to us that may not have been our decision may not have been necessarily in line with your recommendation, for whatever reason, but you have continued to work with us and garnered from us, our thoughts of what is the bigger picture. And you've been on board with us the whole time. So I know it's been very time consuming for you, but I appreciate it very much.
Well, I thank you, and this board is an excellent example of how to work together. And when you have school boards, I have worked with a variety of school boards, we should have different viewpoints, and I encourage that. I think it's very healthy. At the end of the day, once decisions are made, let's all, pull in the same direction, and this board has been able to do that. So once again, I really appreciate, because this school board is doing great work, and you all are to be commended. So, in fact, when I see the governor, I'm going to encourage him to give you all a pay raise that school boards are receiving.
Oh, 25 cents an hour.
But serious,
I was thinking 5.
But serious, even as volunteers, I want to appreciate you all very much appreciated for your hard work. And so I know you all may not hear that enough, but the school would not be where it is without your leadership. So thank you all.
Well, you might as well announce the name and or the title of your book that kind of led to this so the press could print it in case anybody in the community wants to read it.
Yes, the name of my book is.
That's not a, you didn't pay me for that plug, I'm just saying.
So if anyone looking for a sleep aid, they can buy my book. No, it's entitled Equity from the Boardroom to the Classroom. And one of the reasons why I wrote this book, because due to my background and experience, I had a very thorough knowledge and insight about how all the pieces work together in collaboration with each other, from the community, from the teachers, from the administrators, from the board perspective, from the superintendent perspective, from the principal, because I have played a part in all of these roles. And so bringing everyone to the table in their right roles and working collaboratively. So this, and working collaboratively to reach those district goals. So the book is very interesting, and it has been, really selling well, and I appreciate the opportunity to share that model with you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you soon.
Thank you, Dr. Rice. Moving on to item 8, board reports and discussion. Do you have any board reports?
Not really a report, just one thing I would, as a kind of, I know we've kind of briefly joked about it and talked about it, but I kind of want to put it out there as a request on my end. If we could potentially look at, I know we moved from the Microsoft suite from Office and Outlook to the Google format as a cost savings initiative.
It's not just a cost savings, there's a lot more to it than that.
Okay. I've heard lots of complaints from staff and everything, and I'm just asking if we could get to it to see the consensus of if people are happy with it, if they're not. I mean,
Right.
We've had it for a year now.
Yeah.
And I know my personal beliefs on it, and I think everybody in this room knows how I feel about it, but I know there's been a lot of extra work put on staff by having to format things to go to and recreate documents, and there's been a lot of extra work on a lot of people's ends. So just, if we could just look into it and see where we're
but
at.
we can continue to look at that.
The problem with switching the format, because I use both, if you never get away from the Microsoft version, you're always going to have that problem. I mean, it's almost like you need to completely isolate yourself and do all of your work in the Google format. But if you're going back and grabbing documents that are 10 years old or something like that, you're always going to have a format problem.
Right.
I will say, the more you stay away from it and work only in Google, the better it is for you.
Right.
Yeah. And it does make it easy. I mean, and I can have Brandon give you an update on that as well, but it's more than just the cost. There is a cost associated with it, and there's a cost tied to each email account that we have, but it also has to do with just the servers and being cloud-based versus having to house all that information as well, and he can explain it much better than I can. There are some advantages, especially when we've had the working groups, to be able to contain things in the shared folders and be able to share them with the board, that you can access those without having to go back into email to find those things. So yes, there has been a learning curve, but there have been some advantages to it as well.
All right. Thank you. Any other reports or discussion? All right. Moving on to preview about upcoming meeting and events.
Just a reminder with our summer schedule that our next scheduled board meeting will be in July, and that's July 14th at 5:30 here in the boardroom.
And with that, adjournment and bell ringer.
Yes, just a few things. Even though school's out, we still have a very active summer. I want to congratulate the class of 2021. The graduation ceremony was terrific, and thank you for all of you that could be there. And we just appreciated everyone's patience and participation. But we were happy to have an in-person graduation.
And finally, sports are over?
Yes.
You know, congratulations to the boys golf team, you know, for a successful year, and also to a young man, Mr. Kovac, who placed ninth in the state in the high jump.
And then we also want to say congratulations to RHS gymnast Liz Ruger. She was named the 2021 North Central Conference Female Athlete of the Year.
Oh, yeah.
And also we have summer school and third grade academy are taking place right now. Those will be wrapping up at the end of the month. We want to congratulate Richmond High School teacher Emily Philpott on being named as Wayne County's Amazing Teacher. She's worked for RCS for RHS for over 2 decades. She teaches English in the alternative program at the high school. In addition to that, you may see her out about. She runs the Our Shelves Food Pantry, which is one of the largest school food pantries in the state of Indiana. You may also recognize her name because she was our RCS Teacher of the Year.
Yeah.
Her nominator shared that her dedication, caring heart, and tireless energy makes her one of the most passionate and successful educators I've ever been around. She is simply the best at what she does. And then going along with that, she'll be featured on a future episode of a new Indiana PBS show called Amazing Teachers. We do have, of course, many other amazing teachers with Richmond Community Schools. Some of the other nominees were Dawn Yaden from Crestdale Elementary, Dolka DeMott from Richmond High School, Amanda Endestrop from Fairview Elementary, Scott Beeman from Richmond High School, Mindy Wampler from Hibbard Program Building, Bill Langley from Richmond High School and Hibbard Program Building, Kylie Sutherland from Charles Elementary, Kim Morris from Test Intermediate, Matt Tucker from Test Intermediate, and Jim Jeffries from Fairview Elementary. So congratulations. Thank you. Yes.
If I could just add one final comment, or one comment. Today, in my other life at the county, we were very fortunate to, I was fortunate to witness the commissioners pass a proclamation celebrating the 100th anniversary, Saturday, June 19th, of Townsend Center, and the entire initiative that the Townsend Center family, if you will, and that was very clearly described as a family, what they've done for that area of the town, as well as youth and the citizens. So it was quite impressive, and I think we would be remiss, given all the other diversity issues that we've addressed tonight on our agenda, certainly with the Simons Foundation, to not call the community's attention to this opportunity to celebrate an institution that's marking a real milestone.
Fantastic.
That's it.
Anyone else for the good of the cause?
Goodbye, Jennifer.
Oh,
I'm just gonna scoot over wherever Tim puts me.
Well, thank you for your intern.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
We definitely could not have gotten through this without you, and we will be in your gratitude for quite some time.
Thank you. It did exactly what I wanted it to do by serving in the position, which would be to give the board the time that was needed to find the perfect candidate for Richmond Community Schools. So,
And it was so nice to not be hurried through that, because it took a while. You know?
You really
was
did
okay.
give us the
That was okay.
ability to
Yep.
cross our T's and dot our I's.
Yeah.
So you, thank you.
Yeah, it was worth it in the long run.
I don't think that we could have asked for a better person in that position over the last year plus than what, the experience and then the dedication that you have given us. And I'll just leave it at that.
That dedication will continue. I'm not going anywhere, and I think Dr. Wright and the rest of us are going to make a great team.
Agreed.
you are a fantastic administrator, and we will forever be grateful, because I don't know what this year would have looked like if we had brought someone in from outside. I really don't. And so I thank you and central office and the teachers, but having you in that position really meant a lot.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, Wayne, if I could just see Ron and Kristen for a second after the meeting. With that, our meeting adjourned.
You're in.